Hello and welcome to Macstaff Live. Thank you very much for joining us today, whether you're watching us on LinkedIn or YouTube. My name is Martin Crowson and we're here today to discuss why construction employment has hit a 24-year low. I'm joined by two experts in the studio today. One face you'll know very well and one you maybe won't know so well. Anthony McCormack's the MD of Macstaff, so good morning to you, Ant. Thanks for joining us.
Morning, Mark.
And you're certainly better placed than I am to introduce our special guest today. So Jim Roach from ARB Solutions. Thank you so much for joining us, Jim. And a little intro to say hello to Jim for us.
Yeah, an honour. Thanks for joining us, Jim. Jim Roach, I know from Team, which I'll come on to, but he's a veteran construction engineering recruiter, put more time in than me, which I don't say so often these days. And for 20 years, like an accomplishment in itself, he's been the owner and managing director of ARB Solutions, which is a significant recruitment consultancy that you might know in offsite and modern methods of construction type sector, MMC. Also the director of the construction division of the Team network. So we're colleagues on the national executive where I'm the director for Solos. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Welcome, Jim. Thanks for joining us and hope you can bounce back from Ant calling you a veteran in the first season.
I used to compliment a young thing once upon a time.
Let's crack on. Figures from the ONS last week showed that construction employment is now at a 24-year low. Things have not been this bad since 2001. Employment over that period peaked in 2008-09 at 2.58 million, but is now back down to 2.05 million. Basically 500,000 fewer jobs in construction than there were, now 17 years ago. So we're here today to discuss why. Why is that the position? And hopefully we can suggest some ideas on how we can work our way out of that position to brighter horizons. And let's start with you first. Talk us through some demographic issues that have maybe caused that issue for starters, aging workforce, migration, etc. How's that fitted into this big plan?
Yeah, it's a shocking headline, isn't it? That the industry shrunk so much, and I thought it might be a bit of a red herring for a start. Actually, I don't know if you remember, like Mitt Romney was, like in the US presidency election, was accusing the US military of being in a right state because it shrunk. There was less ships since any time since 1916, apparently. But Obama countered well, there's only 10% of the horses as well. It's like things have changed, so it's not a like for like comparison. Like Jim was talking in the green room, we can do more with less, like in the kind of off-site construction game or whatever. But we do, unfortunately, the harsh reality is that we do have issues like political and economic and systemic industry issues that are kind of have the brakes on it. But just in terms of demographics, it's like if the industry's a kind of a bucket sort of thing, it's full of holes, like it's leaking everywhere. And yes, there's demographics of an aging population doesn't help, and that's especially the case in construction. There's a lot of people retiring out. There's a lot of people leaving the industry for easier jobs, especially as kind of national minimum wage goes up. And if you can get kind of the same amount of money like working in Aldi as you can as a bricklayer or joiner or something, then we're losing people that way. There was a mass kind of migration out, I think, with Brexit and like good skilled workers, like especially from Eastern Europe, going kind of back home, so to speak. On
that point, it's always an emotive issue, Brexit, but is it too simplified to say that we wouldn't be in this position if Brexit hadn't happened? Or is that stretching the point?
So I think it's stretching. It wouldn't help. It wouldn't have helped. But yeah, there's a series of issues going on. It's quite complicated. But and what I was going to say as well is that the tap's not on like it for this bucket either. That it's difficult to, bring the get people interested in apprenticeships, and it's difficult to finance those at the moment. And it's just not like necessarily the sexiest industry. People want to be AI developers and social media influencers these days, don't they? Not skilled trades, but people who do go that route probably have the last laugh because secure employment and good salary and no 50 grand of university debt. But don't get me on that soapbox.
Jim, over to you. A reaction to what Ant's saying on a demographic perspective, and then let's try and move on to some of the more practical reasons why.
So we've talked about being a veteran and that I'm getting older, and everybody's. Let's move on. The demographics a big thing. Yeah, we had a skills shortage before Brexit in construction, when things were going reasonably well. We have a skills shortage now post-Brexit, when certainly construction is not at its full capacity. It could be going far, far stronger. And we still have a skills shortage now. So we want it to grow and be really successful, of course. And when it does, then you're going to really understand about skill shortages. There's a disconnect with getting young people in as well. Ant and I were at a meeting just on Tuesday, where we got 40 recruiters together and a fantastic panel of experts on apprenticeships and the issues that young people have getting into construction, manufacturing and engineering. And there's a big disconnect there, which based on Tuesday, we could carry on talking about for hours, I know. But we came out of that with a lot of ideas and suggestions about how that could be improved, which we need to get out there as well.
Just briefly, Jim, is there anything that can be done in a short soundbite to try and stop that disconnect, or is it a very long story and probably subject for another YouTube discussion?
Understand where young people are looking for work, and understand what they want to hear in jobs. So you can read a job description. It doesn't really tell you what you're going to do. If you've never done it before, you can't guess at it. So one of the real easy things was for employers to get their young people to do real short videos, stick them on TikTok, and explain the actual jobs that they're going to do, explain the fun that they're going to have, explain the progression they can get, and include the social stuff too. Make it a real thing rather than just a bit of black and white writing.
Interesting. Practically, Angela Rayner famously said she wanted to build 1.5 billion houses a few years ago. That's clearly not happened, and that's clearly at the heart of a lot of the problems. Jim, just say a little bit about that and how far behind is that promise?
Housing, I always feel, is the tail that wags the dog. If housing's going well, the rest of construction grows. And we've seen fewer housing starts this year, despite their build, baby builds, etc.
Yeah.
What they forget is the government doesn't actually build houses. It's the developers that build houses, and developers only build houses if they can sell houses. And there's no real incentive to first-time buyers. You've got huge issues with taxes when you move. You've got higher interest rates than we had before. So housing's stuck. And we didn't hear anything at all yesterday about housing, which was a shame. It really does need an incentive to move that market forward.
Were you expecting to hear something yesterday? I throw it out to both of you.
No, but wishing for it.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about the UK 2025 autumn budget, aren't we? And it wasn't as bad as it could have been, I think, is what people are saying. It hasn't spooked the markets. They seem to have got away with kind of raising some money without breaking manifesto pledges. But I just dislike the I just dislike the tactics, really, like, because they've been criticized a lot for the leaks, haven't they? And then like U-turns, like, are they rolling something up the flagpole and seeing how unpopular it is and then kind of pulling that off the table, sort of thing? But I've started to think it's like basically like Trump's art of the deal. It's like they, you know, make us aware of some like horrifying scenario, and then when it's less bad than that, like, everybody's relieved and therefore it seems positive, but it's actually not. There's not a lot of positive in there, not for construction anyway.
Wow, likening the British Labour Party to Donald Trump's policies is probably worth another YouTube video as well.
Is that hand grenade? Yeah,
that's a soundbite I'm taking. What about the doesn't matter how many houses you want to build, you've got to have planning people on your side to do that. And I'll throw this open to both of you. How do you think the planning aspect of trying to grow the housing market has developed over the last couple of years, and what part does that play in it?
Oh, they've solved that, apparently.
Carry on, Jim. Tell us.
They have made efforts to reform planning, and that's welcomed, but that creates delays as well. There aren't enough planning professionals out there to get these things done. Let's look at the Building Safety Act, which is massively important. Came out about largely post Grenfell, but that has put pretty much every major scheme, any higher risk project, so any high rise project, i.e. any major project, particularly in London, put the kibosh on it, because they need to see that golden thread of information and that it's going to be built correctly. So that's put everything back. Things will start coming through that the gateways, the government gateways for it, but there's nowhere near enough planners to be able to do it. I think they promised a 12-week period, and it's at least 22 or 24 weeks currently. And a lot of them are being pushed back as not passing it, not having enough data. Interestingly, the first project to get through that Gateway 2 was a high-rise modular building project. So where all of the units are manufactured off-site, and all the designs are frozen far earlier, and it's a manufactured product rather than something that's bashed up on a building site. So far far less difficult for off-site manufactured products to get through these more onerous planning needs, because we need safer buildings.
And you were talking about judicial reviews in the green room as well on major infrastructure. Jim, just tell us a little bit more about that. Yeah,
more so for your major civils, so your highways projects, your the
HS2 and whatnot.
HS2, etc. I was reading that 34 projects went to judicial review not long ago. 30 of them were passed through as saying, no, there is no issue here, but it delays projects by 2 years. And only 4 were found to have any issues that needed resolving. So it's very easy to delay major infrastructure projects with red tape, too much red tape.
Yeah, it seems to never change, does it? Too much red tape. If we allowed ourselves to get into this position, I mean, even on Jim, you were just touching on there's not enough planners to actually get this stuff through. It's almost another part of the skills shortage. So as a country, if we let ourselves fall into a malaise and then suddenly one morning we wake up and go, oh, crikey, look what position we're in, and what lessons can be learned by getting into this position.
So I should say she did announce funding yesterday to get more planners. Okay. The problem was that the planning situation has been so bad for so long that who would want to be a local authority planning officer? So funnily enough, they all quit.
It's been bad. Why, Jim? Why? What to the layman? Why has it been bad for so long?
Because the planning laws were so broken.
Okay.
So anyone working in that role is working with this broken system where they're not allowed to approve things that they maybe want to, or they want to approve things that then get stopped by local councillors without good planning reason often. And so there's a lot of to and fro, and nothing ever gets done. So there's been a lot of that. If planning professionals were given a better framework to work with, it would attract more people, because it's a massively important job. It's a great career, but you don't want to be stuck in a framework that just doesn't work very well. So it is improving. It will get better. They are putting funding into it, but is it solved as the government say? No, not yet.
And you're nodding in agreement? Agree with Jim?
Yeah, I think we've kind of, and again, it's both colours of party, really. I suppose we've kind of put a stranglehold on the industry, really, allowing the things to kind of just get buried in the long grass of planning, and that it's kind of a lack of confidence then as well, which is not helpful for business, and there's just no ambition or kind of ability to take the risk of growth at the moment. With the economy as well, I mean, it was just been the perfect storm of energy prices going up, materials prices going up, in uncertainty about the actual workforce to deliver these projects, interest rates kind of hiking the finance required of these, and companies have just kind of stepped away, and some have got literally kind of pushed to the wall as well. So it's kind of not ideal. And then from a confidence point of view, even the ones that were supposed to be done, or that have been talked about, HS2 didn't get done fully, did it, or properly, and it kind of was broken promise, and especially for the north of England. If they've started at that end, they might have made all the way to London, I think, but it wasn't really a leveling up exercise as it turned out. And then the Angela Rayner's 1.5 million homes, I think that's never going to happen. There's just not the workforce for it, apart from anything else, and we've failed for 50 years straight to meet housing targets. So there's something systemically wrong. I don't even exactly know what it is, but it wouldn't take China 5 years to build 1.5 million dwellings, would it? And it's a high-rise thing as well, isn't it? We need to kind of realize that high-rise is not necessarily a bad thing. It's affordable and is known as luxury accommodation, in other major kind of cities throughout the world. So
let me give you a scathing example here. I went to a really interesting conference back in February on housing. Not my sort of thing normally. Normally I go there to network with everyone. And this was local authority housing professionals talking at it. And it was fascinating because they were talking about how much money the London boroughs spend on temporary accommodation, so bed and breakfasts, private rental, hotels. Let's leave asylum seekers out of this for the moment, but this is for British people. They were spending 90 million a month on this across London. I googled it yesterday, and that's now 156 million pounds a month. Now, that's just to pay private individuals or companies rent. And not solve the problem. So that money could be used to build houses, or at the very least temporary housing, meanwhile accommodation. There are really great modular solutions, absolutely ready to go on these sorts of things. We also found that some local authorities were getting some of these sort of meanwhile housing schemes through. On the sites that are being delayed by the gateway issues,
which is the health and safety approval, isn't it?
Yeah, and the difficulty then is for the local authority to give themselves planning permission to put some temporary housing up on an empty building site.
Couldn't make it up, and lots of kind of politicians and kind of councillors and whatever pretend they want to fix the problem, and they don't because of NIMBYism. Obviously, they're kind of not in my backyard attitude, and also it kind of suits developers and homeowners and landlords for prices to be high because demand's outstripping supply, doesn't it?
They're businesses. They need to make a profit. They're not building council houses with government money. Yes, there's funding, but they need to see a return on their investments there. So you can say build baby build, but that won't build houses. The government isn't really a house builder. There's other people that do that, and they need to see the right market for that to work in.
Painted a very stark and depressing picture for the first 18 and 19 minutes. Now let's try and finish last 5 or 6 minutes if we can on a positive, and throw it out to both of you two blokes who have plenty of experience in employment recruitment throughout your careers. How can we get out of this? What can be done? What needs to be done? Fire it out to both of you.
Well, the recruitment market has been pretty flat for nearly 3 years now. So that's challenging. Having said that, we've registered more new vacancies this month than most months this year.
Brilliant.
So that's really interesting. For offsite particularly, I think there are huge potential in that when we do get building, we will need to do it quickly. We will need to do it with less people. We will need to do it better. And all of that leans towards precision manufactured elements or complete buildings that are manufactured in a factory rather than the traditional construction methods. And we're seeing offsite spread, modern methods spread to civils projects, to bridges, to large water industry things. The schools program, which needs to accelerate, the hospitals program, which Boris announced but never funded, and is now delayed. But there's some great work going on by modular manufacturers in the healthcare space. So hopefully more of that to come. These projects will also get through the Building Safety Act, the gateways at some point. And you may find a rush of projects once that starts going, which would be also good. And whilst we're short of skills, companies need to be looking to get the best skills they can get rather than just good enough. A lot of pressure on recruitment budgets this year for companies. So more and more trying to recruit directly themselves, fair play. But are they settling for good enough rather than what they really need? People who could potentially give them a better return on that investment by using professionals like Anthony and myself.
And over to you. I mean, Jim spoke earlier about making sure they're trying to attract young people into the industry to provide the skills. Just say something about that. About is our ability to train, people interested and train them going to help in the short term, or is that really a long-term project?
Yeah, it's kind of both, I guess, and there are kind of some moves in the right direction of recognizing it the construction industry as a key industry, along with technology and pharmaceutical and things like that. So government are planning to kind of invest in key growth industries or ones that are key to kind of national security or kind of standards of living and cost of living and things like that. So those kind of promises of investments are good. There has been some amendments in terms of things like the apprenticeship levy as well that allows kind of better access or more flexible access to funding for companies who want to grow, especially in apprenticeships. I think they've called it, just looking for the term, the short course levy has been approved, in this budget as well. So, the future of education and what companies want is more kind of on the spot, short-term training to kind of address certain issues. They don't want to wait, for somebody to do a 5-year degree that's already out of date. So it's kind of a more aligned industrial strategy. And speaking to what you were saying before, is the mismatch, in between, what education does, what kind of young candidates want and what employers need. So feels like a bit more of a joined up approach in terms of that. And a rising tide kind of lifts all boats, doesn't it? The economic outlook growth hasn't been downgraded for as much as it was supposed to be. So that's kind of seen as a positive news. Interest rates are coming down, inflation's coming down. Confidence is returning for 2026. So there's actually, things are being talked up, and like Jim says, the industry's got to be ready, in construction, and recruiters have got to be ready to ride that wave then, and to make best use of the upswing.
I should say, we sound very doom and gloom. It's been tough, and there's no point pretending everything's rosy. But there is still a significant construction industry out there. It's doing a lot of good stuff. I was speaking to a senior director in a major group the other week, slightly concerned because they were laying off a few people, as was he. But the real thing I took from the conversation at the end was, how do you see it going forward? And he said, we are preparing for growth. And I think that's an absolute key message, that however it is now, if growth comes, if potential comes, or if you can reach out and find some potential, be ready for it. So that's about getting your company culture right, having the right benefits, having really strong leadership and development opportunities. So yeah, get ready for growth, because I think if it's going in a direction, I think it will be a positive direction.
That's a great note for us to finish on, Jim, just so we're running out of time anyway. So brilliant. Thank you very much.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take that. We'll take
Let's
that.
hope. Fingers
It'd be
crossed.
really interesting to revisit the subject maybe in 12 months' time with the three of us sitting here discussing where we're at then. So we'll call it a day there. So thank you very much.
Great.
Jim,
We'll do it from Barbados then.
Next time this year, we'll be millionaires. Yeah.
that's on tape, Jim, unfortunately. So I have to hold you to that. Jim, thanks a lot for joining us today. Tell everybody where they can find you and a little bit about your business.
You can find us all over LinkedIn. We are pretty ravenous across it. Our website is lvsolutions.co.uk, full of jobs, full of advice, full of information. Talk to us about anything offsite or construction supply chain or facades or steel sector or timber supply, although, rather a lot going on in that at the moment. So yeah, we've got a great team of highly experienced recruiters. We're part of the team network, so we collaborate with other agencies as well, like Ant here. So yeah, that's where we are.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you taking your time out to join us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are the real deal at ARV Solutions for sure. Appreciate your time and expertise today, Jim.
Thank you.
Anthony, thanks as ever for joining us today and giving us your views on the subject. It's much appreciated. If you'd like to find out more from Ant, you can follow him also and Macstaff across all socials. Find out more about the business at macstaff.co.uk. Ant's also written a book called Job Search, Job Done, which is great for anybody who's thinking about changing roles or getting their first job in the country. And if you've been watching us today on YouTube and enjoyed it, please head on to the Macstaff YouTube channel where you'll find loads more videos which are really helpful for both hiring companies and candidates looking for new jobs as well. We'll be back soon on Macstaff Live. In the meantime, thanks a lot for joining us. If you've got any questions to ask either Ant or Jim, please pop them in the comments box, either under on YouTube or on LinkedIn, and we'll do our best to answer them as soon as possible. But from me, Martin Crowson, that's it for today. Thanks again to Jim and Ant for joining us. And thank you for joining us here on Macstaff Live. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.